America. Welcome to the show we've been waiting for. Celebrate Live. This is the 122nd edition, also called Honor to the American Presidency. Mr. Olette, Bourgeois, Mancheater, Washington, thank you for being in attendance today. I've been coming on that TV program for almost 2 years. Most of the time, I talk about the genius of the founding father and the American leadership at home and around the world. Before the speech of the Prime Minister of Israel to Congress, I'm asking all of you to honor the Presidency of America. Mr. Olette, Mancheater, Washington, Bourgeois, please allow me this anecdote. At Kennedy School for Government at Harvard University, the teacher came one day and asked the student the following question: who is the greatest president of America? Mr. Olette, the class divided into two categories. One category said Washington, of course. He is the founder of America. I discussed that answer with my advisor in politics. He told me, Pierre, he is a great guy because Washington could proclaim himself king. He had designed democracy on behalf of the humanity. When it's come to Lincoln, they said Lincoln put an end to slavery in America. He saved the Union. And Mr. Olette, Mancheater, Washington, Bourgeois, the same question was asked recently at Govstown at St. College, Institute of the Government of Politics. Who is the best president of America? And the answer was Kennedy and Johnson. Not because Kennedy has chosen Johnson as a VP, not because the American people has chosen Johnson to replace Kennedy after his death. No. They said that no president in the world talk about community service than Kennedy. Remember his historic speech. Do not ask America what America can do for you, but you, what you can do for America. And I think that is meaning for the world. Why? He created the Peace Corps. Allow civilians to work overseas. Mr. Olette, don't worry, I will take you to my hometown for community service. If I have a chance to ask the same question, I will change it. I will ask it a different way. I will ask and said, who is your favorite president? Do you know why? All of them took a note to protect America. Do you know why? All of them has to face a challenge of a generation. I talked to some old elderly about that topic today. Who is your favorite president? They told me, Pierre, the president I know when I was little. Guess what? Who is it? Franklin Delano Roosevelt. And he led America to the Great Depression. So later I talked to some other people. They tell me Clinton, not because they really like him, but they like what he did. He left the country, the treasury with money, a surplus. What about President Bush? He created the Department of Homeland Security after September 11. Mr. Olette, today the Department of Homeland Security do not have funding for the Department of Homeland Security. Imagine, this department will give security to the president. The department who is in charge of immigration, the department is in charge of safety for all of us. No funding. Congress agree only on a funding for 1 month. Imagine, the United States of America, no funding. The leadership of the world. And today on this celebration, I ask you not to judge the president on how many things he did, but on his character. The way that he addressed challenges and his time and his tenure. And the best way to answer the question, who is the best president of America or who is your favorite, is to accept that you need to unite, to be united around that. Mr. Olette, I think it's time for you to ask you humbly to lead us in a ceremony of allegiance to the flag of America.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mancheater from Boston. Thank you, Mr. Olette. Thank you, Mr. Kennedy.
I think you need to understand, though, that the reason why there's no funding for Homeland Security, or they just put in an emergency 1 week, and we're back to a crisis. The crisis is being invented by our politicians. Today's House and Senate are Republican. They were blaming the Democrats last year because they controlled the Senate, that things weren't getting done. Now that they control both houses of Congress, they're still creating their own crisis. We don't have a lack of money. We have a lack of political will to do what's right and stop bickering over what? Are we going to take 11 million illegal immigrants and ship them all away? We know we're not going to do that. So what we haven't done since Reagan, the last time we created amnesty, they were supposed to fix the borders. They didn't. We need to fix the borders, but nobody on the Republican side wants to do that. Why? It's always an election year. Well, it will always be an election year. They need to have the political will to do what's right for the American people and this country.
Thank you very much. I think that it's well said. Yeah, and from there we need to make some recommendation. We need to take the next step, because it sounds like as I have spoken to Washington. Washington, thank you for being here. Welcome back to Manchester. How's Arizona?
It was a nice place.
I was talking to him today.
Good, yeah.
I said to him, I feel that America looking like, when it's come to funding, when it's come to making decisions for some important issues, we sound like Haiti, or some other African country. That need to stop. It's all that. And I said, I don't see any protests yet. Yeah, I know people protest when it's come to for war or for peace. They protest, but they don't protest for that. It is serious. No funding for the Department of Homeland Security, which is in charge of to secure for the safety of all of us. I think, Mr. Oleta, I know you are busy running for mayor, but I think that we should lead a petition and look for some names, and then bring in the list of the name to our delegation to Washington. Yeah, to tell them that you need a mediator who is going to break the deal. Yeah, this is the United States of America. Pastor, your reaction. Thank you for being at Celebrate Live today, 120th edition. Honor to the President of America. What's your reaction?
Yes, this is a good subject for the honor for the President. Like you say in your introduction, a lot of people ask you who is the president, who is the president prefer, like who is the biggest president in America. A lot of questions about that. But for me, my reaction, like you say, they prefer say whose president is the president you prefer. So for me, we're about over 44 presidents from independence America until now. I can say, for me, I prefer Kennedy. I'm married and prefer Kennedy. I can't say he's the best president, no. He's my president, my preferred president.
Preference. So thank you very much. I get to my point. Yeah.
Story in America, after we realize the whole thing, you can say that. So it's a good subject. You mentioned today the president of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu, going to give a speech to the Congress. So it's a good idea in the whole American history. Sometimes you see all presidents come from the other country coming to give a speech to the Congress. So that's a good idea.
All right, but what about the president is not aware of that? The president didn't sign on that visit. It's not a tradition. I know that the whole of
it's a tradition. It's not Benjamin Netanyahu.
It's a tradition.
2 weeks ago, the Prime Minister, England Prime Minister was over there, was in the Congress. They always invite all presidents of different countries to give a speech. Is it like Wallet say? So I'm agree with Wallet in the beginning when he talked about the Homeland Security. They don't have any form that they have to fix the border. I'm agree with him. because that's a good point in Marshall to the debate.
But I know, but everybody has his role. Why the President of America is not informed about about the visit of the Prime Minister of Israel to address the Congress? What I'm worried about, I don't want to give the world the impression that we are fighting on each other in our leadership rank. I hope that that's not the case.
It is the case.
Mr. Olet think is the case. And if it's the case, that needs to stop. So Mr. Olet, please, on your spare time, or on your busy schedule, you need to do something. At least make a phone call. They might understand you better. Tell them what's going on, eh?
It is the case, and especially when it's between the both speakers of the House and Senate, and they're both in the same party, and they're bickering amongst themselves.
That's very sad. And I know that the role of the Speaker of the House is to, for the DVD?
It's ready to go whenever you're ready.
I know the role of the Speaker of the House is to prepare the House, to make sure that the House is ready, the House is in order.
Well, what happened is the House blamed the Senate blamed the House. The point is the Senate did its job, and the House it backfired, didn't it? And now we're in a crisis that they created. It's not a real crisis. And now we're back at it again this week. So what they should have done last week, they're rehashing it again this week. So that's how we never get anything done.
Very good. Today's show is a call to respect the hierarchy, to respect the chain of command. This is America. The founding father understood it that way. Yeah, when he left us a heritage, nobody has absolute power. Everybody has his own. The role of the Speaker of the House is to introduce the President before the Congress. And operator say time is running out. Whenever it's ready, he can play for us this wonderful video, which is a courtesy of Wallet at Large.
Thursday, the United States House of Representatives passed a $1.1 trillion spending bill. The bill barely passed with 219 in favor and 206 against. The U.S. government would have run out of funds that evening at midnight if the bill had not passed. The new bill will fund nearly the entire government spending for the next fiscal year. However, funding for the Department of Homeland Security will run out in February. The Republicans hope to force President Barack Obama to roll back his immigration policy. The national debt now stands at $18 trillion. It will continue to grow quickly if the Congressional Budget Office's predictions are accurate. The CBO predicts the nation's deficit will grow each year from now to 2021, when it will return to the trillion-dollar level. Private debt is also astronomical. Total U.S. debt is $60 trillion today. That includes government, business, mortgages, and consumer debt. To learn where this debt will lead the U.S., watch the Key of David program, We Don't Have a Spending Problem.
Speaker, on DHS funding, are you concerned that if you bring up a clean bill to fund the Homeland Security Department like McConnell says he'll do in the Senate, it will be the end of the speakership?
I'm waiting for the Senate to act. The House has done its job to fund the Department of Homeland Security and to stop the president's overreach on immigration. And we're waiting for the Senate to do their job. Senate Democrats have stood in the way now for 3 weeks over a bill that should have been debated and passed. And so until the Senate does something, we're in a wait-and-see mode.
But what about obviously, you know the way your caucus feels. Are you concerned about a rebellion if you would go to?
I'm waiting for the Senate to pass a bill.
Heard Jake's reporting you haven't spoken to Mitch McConnell in 2 weeks. Why is that?
Our staffs talk back and forth, but listen, Senator McConnell's got a big job to do. So do I.
Shouldn't you talk to him ahead of this important deadline? I mean, you guys are on the same team.
Our staffs have been talking back and forth, but at the end of the day, the Senate has to act. And I've made it pretty clear over the last couple of weeks, we're waiting for the Senate to act.
What do you think, on the merits of his plan? What do you think about it?
I'm waiting for the Senate to pass a bill. There's a lot. I don't know what the Senate's capable of passing, and until I see what they're going to pass, no decision's been made on the House side.
Is Congress going to avoid a shutdown of DHS?
I'm waiting for the Senate to act. The House has passed a bill to fund the department. It's time for the Senate to do their job.
And I will keep on urging Congress to move past some of the habits of manufactured crises and self-inflicted wounds that have so often bogged us down over the last 5 years. We've got one example of that right now. Unless Congress acts, 1 week from now, more than 100,000 DHS employees, Border Patrol, port inspectors, TSA agents will show up to work without getting paid. Now, they all work in your states. These are folks who, if they don't have a paycheck, are not going to be able to spend that money in your states. It will have a direct impact on your economy, and it will have a direct impact on America's national security, because their hard work helps to keep us safe. And as governors, you know that we can't afford to play politics with our national security. So instead, let's try to focus on some of the things that we have in common and deliver real results.
With respect, Mr. Speaker, that your answers about what you're going to do are the same as yesterday. Can Mitch McConnell has said exactly what he's going to do. You know exactly what you're going to get. It's going to be a clean DHS funding bill. Are you going to put it on the floor? Are you going to kill it? Are you going to let him vote on it? Have you even had this discussion?
When we make decisions, I'll let you know.
What does that mean?
Is a continuing resolution tied?
That was just a kiss, that's all.
Several.
I'm waiting for the Senate to act.
With 2 days left until the Department of Homeland Security runs out of money, the two top Republicans who run Congress, John Boehner and Mitch McConnell, met after not talking for 2 weeks.
Our staffs talk back and forth, but listen, Senator McConnell's got a big job to do. So do I.
But it's really a window into their challenges of governing.
I'd be happy to have his cooperation.
Conservatives are furious that Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell gave in to Democratic demands to fund Homeland Security without blocking the president's immigration plan. Boehner wants his rank and file to know he had nothing to do with it.
Right now, Harry Reid's still running the Senate. That's a sad day.
There is no way on God's green earth that I'm going to support any effort to fund illegal conduct.
Republicans refusing to compromise is a familiar headache for Boehner, but with the majority now in both chambers of Congress, conservative expectations are even higher that leaders won't back down from fights against the president's policies.
Are you concerned that if you bring up a clean bill to fund the Homeland Security Department like McConnell says he'll do in the Senate, it will be the end of your speakership?
I'm waiting for the Senate to act. The House has done its job to fund the Department of Homeland Security and to stop the president's overreach on immigration. And we're waiting for the Senate to do their jobs.
The clerk will call the roll.
But with the Senate moving forward on funding Homeland Security, the tough choice will squarely fall in Boehner's lap. Fund the department or let conservatives down. Despite the no-win situation, Boehner aides dismiss any notion that he'd be in trouble. And they point to him pleasing conservatives by inviting Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to speak next week, angering the White House.
On both sides, there has now been injected a degree of partisanship, which is not only unfortunate, I think it's destructive of the fabric of the relationship.
And Secretary of State John Kerry went even further while testifying on Capitol Hill today. Wolf, he made some pretty unusual and personal criticisms of the Israeli prime minister. He said he was wrong in opposing the nuclear talks with Iran, just as he was profoundly wrong in his support for George W. Bush in the war.
The House did its job. We won the fight to fund the Department of Homeland Security and to stop the president's unconstitutional actions. Now it's time for the Senate to do their work. You know, in the gift shop out here, they've got these little booklets on how a bill becomes a law, right? The House has done its job. Why don't you go ask the Senate Democrats when they're going to get off their... I love Mitch. He has a tough job to do, and so do
Welcome to Latest World News.
U.S. lawmakers have avoided a partial shutdown of Homeland Security after passing a one-week funding extension just hours before a midnight deadline. The House of Representatives voted 357-60 in favor of the short-term bill after it had been passed in the Senate. President Barack Obama, who said he would back a short-term deal to avert a shutdown, signed it shortly afterwards. It ensures the department's 250,000 employees will be paid while a longer-term funding agreement is discussed. The two-thirds majority vote was reached about 2 hours before the midnight, 5 o'clock GMT Saturday, deadline. Earlier, Republicans had rejected a similar 3-week extension after provisions against President Obama's immigration plan were dropped. The one-week deal was backed by a majority of Democrats despite many of them voting against the earlier bill in the hope that a longer-term deal could be agreed. The move came shortly after President Obama had spoken by phone to Democratic leaders in a bid to avert the partial department closure. The Department of Homeland Security is responsible for securing U.S. borders, airports and coastal waters. About 200,000 essential department employees would have continued to work without pay if the agency's funding had not been secured. Some Republicans had wanted to use the funding of the department, which includes immigration officials, as a bargaining chip to force President Obama to end policies on immigration.
Are you going to kill it? Are you going to let him vote on it? Have you even had this discussion?
When we make decisions, I'll let you know. We passed a bill to fund the department 6 weeks ago.
Signed the America's Promise Summit Declaration and headed to the Big Apple for the annual United Nations General Assembly. That's September 19th to September 25th, or
America's always
stronger when we stand united.
We stand united.
On Friday, the President and Vice President launched It's On Us, a public awareness and education campaign that works to prevent sexual assault on college campuses.
This is on all of us, every one of us, to fight campus sexual assault.
This is a really serious issue, and what's really important is to educate people and also empowering people to speak up.
It's teaching men to be proactive instead of reactive. So I think it's very important that we're here today and to get that message out and just continue to learn. And hearing the statistics, it's pretty staggering. So it's on us to change all this.
On Monday, the President signed the America's Promise Summit Declaration, which calls on all citizens to help the youth of America realize their full potential.
The concept is simple, that our greatest asset are our children. The companies and organizations and not-for-profits that are represented behind me under Alma's leadership have contributed in so many ways, but this is just a small sampling of the hundreds of organizations around the country that are doing great work every single day and are learning from each other.
On Tuesday morning, the President addressed the ongoing military operations against the terrorist organization ISIL. Then he joined the First Lady to travel to New York City for the 69th session of the United Nations General Assembly. First on the busy agenda was addressing the Climate Summit of 2014.
For I believe in the words of Dr. King that there is such a thing as being too late. And for the sake of future generations, our generation must move toward a global compact to confront a changing climate while we still can.
Later that afternoon, the President stopped by the Clinton Global Initiative's annual meeting.
Although it sometimes causes friction, the United States will not stop speaking out for the human rights of all people and pushing governments to uphold those rights and freedoms. We will not stop doing that because that's part of who we are.
On Wednesday, President Obama addressed the United Nations General Assembly. That afternoon, the President convened a historic meeting of the United Nations Security Council, addressing the international response to foreign terrorist fighters. On Thursday, back at the United Nations, the President spoke about the humanitarian response to the Ebola epidemic in Africa.
Everybody's got to move fast in order for us to make a difference. And if we do, we'll save hundreds of thousands of lives.
So stay engaged with us online, and remember, you can find out more information about any of these topics and see complete videos of these events at whitehouse.gov. And thanks again for checking out this edition of your West Wing Week.
Always wonderful to follow Matt Damon. I saw people trickling out after he was done.
These are the hardcore policy people who decided to stay for me.
Very much. Before we go on our recommendation on this important edition, we are going to turn the microphone to Mr. Bourgeois. Mr. Bourgeois, who is your favorite president? And thank you for being on Celebrate Live.
I can say Obama is, is my president. I really like him, because he's a very smart guy. He's the first black of United States presidents. You know how they talk, so that's what I can say,
Yeah, very much. Mr. Washington, who is your favorite president? Is that Washington?
George
the founder?
Washington.
Me too, I can say Obama is my favorite president, yeah. Because when he was in Tanzania, he came here and Obama is president. It means Obama take a lot of refugee in Africa, a lot of countries.
Under his tenure, he welcome you. Wow, very nice. And Pastor, who is your favorite president? Your favorite?
Like I say in the beginning, my preferred president is Kennedy. John Kennedy. The reason why I say that because when there is violence, when there is a racist problem in America, Kennedy was agree with Martin Luther King ideology, no violence.
Very good. He met King. He met. Thank you very much. He met Dr. King. Yeah.
Okay.
Very much. He met Dr. King. And I forget to say why the students are choosing Johnson. They said Johnson make a law, the Civil Rights Acts. Right. Johnson make also the Naturalization Act. I'm not sure if I'm running for office in that coming election, but Johnson made that happen.
He did.
To give to alien the flag of America.
No, my favorite president, there's too many to name, but in my lifetime would be Kennedy.
Kennedy.
Yes.
And again, thank you all of you for being in attendance. Pastor Atta, if you want to bless that ceremony, before you do that, let me do some recommendation on for that program, how you honor a president. Is to respect, essentially respect when you are the president, not Obama, but President Obama, not Clinton, yes. President Clinton. And also you can read also, I have that book, look at that, it's an American President, all those from Washington to Clinton. So Bush and Obama is not on that thing yet, but it's the biography of the American president. Pastor Atta, 2 seconds to bless our ceremony today.
À celui qui nous aime et qui nous a délivrés de nos péchés par son sang et qui a fait de nous un royaume des sacrificateurs pour Dieu son Père, à l'histoire la gloire au siècle des siècles. Amen.
Thank you very much. And we will see you next week.
La semaine prochaine.